The story begins with a mage named Itsuka kneeling on the floor. He is begging someone to kick him out of the party. That someone is the hero named Shayu, who refuses his plea. Itsuka then starts crying and hugging his knees, asking the hero why he won't kick him out. The hero simply asks why he wants to be kicked out in the first place. Itsuka replies with a sparkle in his eyes.
I heard when a person get kicked out of a famous party, for the first time ever, everyone would recognize their worth. Thereon, they would rise up in the world and become popular. It's all the rage these days.
The hero then tells Itsuka that he understands his worth and that they would have a hard time without him. Itsuka thanks him for the sentiment, but insists that's not the point. All the female members in the party are in love with the hero. Right now, they're all clinging to him. The archer, Rufu, is hugging his neck. The fighter, Toifa, is clinging to his arm. And the priest, Ryo, is wrapped around his leg. Itsuka feels like he's dying of thirst while watching a man drown. The archer and the priest then begin whispering to each other about why they don't like Itsuka, which makes him want to cry. The hero then tells him that he likes Itsuka, which gives him goosebumps. Itsuka then declares his manifesto to the party. He plans to become the strongest upstart mage and defeat all kinds of awful monsters, which will make him super popular. It was easier said than done, considering the Demon King had already been defeated. Peace had been established between humans and other races, and the rampaging monsters had calmed down. How could anyone plan to rise up in the world now? Itsuka's dream crashes before it even has a chance to begin. He then tells the hero that since peace has already been established, it would be fine to disband the party, especially if it's just him who leaves. Even so, the hero had already made his decision. He refused. He truly and wholeheartedly loved Itsuka's magic and had no intention of handing it over to anyone else. The hero tells him this earnestly, which makes Itsuka even more frustrated. He can't accept that the coolest looking guy in the world is the only one who appreciates his value the most. The hero looks at him with concern, asking if he's emotionally okay. He tries to comfort him, saying that even though it's peacetime, it's not like nothing bad will ever happen. And right on cue, someone bursts into the tavern where they're hanging out, desperately calling for help. The feudal lord's mansion is engulfed in flames. The party immediately sprang into action. The hero quickly issued orders. The archer was to search for anyone still inside, the priest to tend to the injured, and the fighter to help lead the evacuation alongside him. Once the hero confirmed that the search was complete and there was no sign of anyone inside, a sigil appeared in the air, enveloping the blazing mansion. The hero watched in awe as the flames instantly died down. A bystander, unaware of falling debris, stood too close. The hero sprinted toward her, shielding her from the collapse and warning her not to approach the mansion until Itsuka gave the all-clear. Itsuka informed the bystanders that the temperature would remain dangerously high for a while, advising them to wait at least a day before going near. He also erected a barrier to prevent anyone from getting too close. The hero immediately ran to him and embraced him, thanking him. If Itsuka hadn't been there, who knows what might have happened. He blushed and immediately pushed the hero away, complaining that his armor was hurting him. The other party members soon joined them. The fighter reported that the evacuation was complete and the head count matched. The priest mentioned she thought Itsuka would show off with flashy water magic, but instead, he'd used a quicker method. Itsuka, full of regret, realized he'd missed his chance to become popular. He sighed and explained to everyone that cleaning up water magic would have caused trouble, so he had simply created a vacuum to remove all the oxygen instead. The archer and priest were stunned. He had executed such a dangerous spell over a large mansion with perfect precision.
What a monster.
One of these days, he is going to be a subjugation subject for sure.
If you are going to praise me, please pick something better.
The hero couldn't help but laugh, thinking to himself that he had made the right decision not to let him go. The maid the hero had saved earlier came running over, thanking him. She had been too shocked earlier to say anything. The hero simply smiled and told her he was just glad she wasn't hurt. This made the maid fall for him on the spot, declaring she would cherish the warmth of his embrace forever. Itsuka, seething with jealousy, once again pleaded for the hero to kick him out. The request was immediately rejected. Defeated, he could only curse at the air, shouting that he wanted to be popular too. Later that evening, the hero removed her armor, preparing to wash. This revealed the truth. The hero was actually a woman, and quite a busty one at that.
I didn't realize my armor caused him pain when I hugged him. Maybe I should change its shape. Seriously, why is Itsuka so fixated on becoming popular like that? Haven't I clearly told him that I like him?
Days pass, and once again, Itsuka is begging the hero, Shayu, to kick him out, only to be immediately rejected. The other customers in the tavern have grown accustomed to this sight, assuming the hero's party has nothing better to do now that the Demon King has been defeated. The archer, Rufu, casually orders meat skewers, thinking that having free time like this isn't so bad after all. She walks over to the still arguing pair and feeds one of the skewers to the hero. The fighter, Toifa, joins in and begins feeding the hero as well. Itsuka writhes on the floor in jealousy.
I get why you're popular. You've got good looks, you're strong, you're the hero. But just because of that, isn't it weird that I'm not popular at all? Why am I not popular?
Itsuka, wanting to be pampered too, once again kneels in front of her, begging to be kicked out so he can become popular. The hero stands from her seat and approaches the dejected Itsuka. She gently tries to comfort him.
Itsuka. Doesn't that make you popular?
Itsuka shoves her face away, yelling at her not to try and seduce him too, making the hero burst out laughing. But then, a messenger enters the tavern with an official letter for the hero's party. They are being summoned to a meeting with the leaders of the International Confederation. The hero tells Itsuka to put his kick-me-out plans on hold until they've made some money. Itsuka immediately agrees. At the castle, they meet with the president, who appears troubled because the world is at peace. The hero's party had resolved the monster rampages, which were later revealed to have been orchestrated by the Demon King. As a result, interspecies tensions have eased. Communication between the magic cities and the Holy Order has been restored. The medical industry and education system, once lacking manpower and funding, have significantly improved. In short, the world had been saved too well. Itsuka asks what the problem is with that. The president then shows them the issue. Another hero. This hero had been summoned from another world, tasked with subjugating the Demon Lord. But when he arrived, everything was already over. He had been relieved of his duties before even having a chance to begin. The hero's party felt bad for the otherworldly hero, so they simply suggested to the president that he be sent back to his world. It turns out they can send him back, but the heroes from Japan refuse to return. This particular hero doesn't want to go back, because what's waiting for him is 3 months of unapproved leave, and the decomposing remains of cup noodles he was in the middle of eating when summoned. He still thinks the fact that the world has been saved is wonderful. But what truly pisses him off is that he never got the chance to have a slightly tsundere serious muscle girl, a voluptuous sexy elf Ana-san, and a cool sharp-tongued lowly nun as party members. That was his true dream. He cries tears of blood as he wails about how badly he just wants to be popular too. Itsuka resonates deeply with him. It seems Itsuka has found his kindred spirit. The two of them begin complaining to Shayu together. But then something strange happens. The otherworldly hero is suddenly engulfed by a dark aura that begins to amplify his desires. Sensing danger, Shayu dashes over and drags Itsuka away from him. The corrupted hero goes on a rampage, cracking the very pavement beneath him, shouting things like, "I want to be cuddled by a sexy older woman." Itsuka tries to talk him down, but the hero hears nothing. The team quickly comes up with a plan to stop him without killing him. Rufui is assigned to act as bait, while Toifa prepares to create an opening. Rufui sticks her ass out and tries to seduce the corrupted hero. It works. He focuses entirely on her. From the sidelines, Toifa charges her skill. Lightning crackles from her fist and strikes the hero, paralyzing him for a brief moment. Itsuka follows up with a splash of water magic, soaking the hero. Then, with little hesitation, he casts testicular torsion, causing the poor guy to collapse unconscious on the ground. Toifa walks up to Itsuka and asks what he just did. Apparently, after hydrating the hero's clothing, Itsuka immediately dehydrated it, causing the affected material to contract, with the poor man's testicles as the focal point. Ryo examines the unconscious hero and identifies the same dark aura they had seen on the rampaging monsters. When the hero regains consciousness, he finds himself detained and dejected. Shayu kneels to meet his eyes and sincerely apologizes for taking away his chance to fulfill his duties. She says that they are not so different. Both of them are heroes, and their hands were never meant to harm, but to protect everyone's smile. Light radiates from Shayu so brightly that it almost blinds the otherworldly hero. He feels even more pathetic for ever calling himself a hero now that he's met someone like her. The president then informs the party of a troubling situation. More heroes who refuse to return home have started rampaging in various locations. One is attempting to control dragons. Another is attacking residents and forcing them to drink a mysterious liquid. Yet another is trying to establish a nation, brainwashing its citizens in the process. Every day, the number of incidents increases. It's possible this is all because those heroes were unable to perform their duties, or worse, someone might be intentionally causing them to go berserk. Shayu then steps forward, placing her hands on Itsuka's shoulders. She tells him they can't leave things like this, because they're the hero party. Then she gently holds his flushed face and says that they need his magic and knowledge, so he should come with them. Itsuka folds instantly and agrees to stay with the party. Later that night, while Shayu is undressing, she thinks back on her actions toward Itsuka. Was she being too bold? Even so, just being with him already makes her happy. Meanwhile, in another room, Itsuka is still crying to himself, mourning the fact that he may never become popular now. 1 month ago, when everyone in the party was on the verge of being wiped out, the only one still standing was Shayu. She was fiercely defending something behind her. They were up against a demon with 2 massive towering arms, one who wanted to take over her body. Shayu braced herself for the worst, but just then, Itsuka, standing behind her, finished his incantation. He thanked her for protecting him. Floating into the air, Itsuka unleashed his magic, lacerating the demon's enormous hands in a single sweep. Shayu watched him in awe, captivated by the sight of Itsuka's magic. In the present, Itsuka's voice pulls her back. He's calling her name because she zoned out. Shayu realizes it's been a month since they all started traveling together like this. Things have been so peaceful that Toifa's body has grown sluggish lately. Rufu then reveals the reason. Toifa just hasn't had a good sparring partner. Shayu tells her that she should have asked her. So long as it's just sparring, she'd gladly help. Toifa blushes and admits she didn't challenge Shayu because she's powerless against her. Itsuka's expression turns sour. Rufu chimes in, saying she's felt the same. With all the mercenaries and adventurers returning to their hometowns, only the pure, easygoing boys are left, making Rufu's nights feel boring lately. She then stares at Shayu expectantly. Rufu hugs Shayu's arm and teases her, pretending to wait for Shayu to say, "Should have asked me." But Shayu only laughs in response. The scene is starting to get on Itsuka's nerves. He wonders if he's going to have to watch this play out every single day from now on. Ryo tries to calm him down, reminding him that they just left the city. There's no need to start complaining again already. Ryo then asks if they're even heading in the right direction, since all she can see is endless forest. The party is currently on their way to the dragon's nest to investigate the hero who's rumored to be trying to manipulate the dragons. Local residents have been begging them to come quickly, as the roars echoing from the mountains have been growing louder each day, raising fears that another rampage might break out. If the hard-earned trust between races is broken again, it might never recover. As the party climbs higher up the mountain trail, Ryo reaches her limit. She can't go on any further. She makes her way to Shayu, who simply picks her up and carries her without a second thought. Itsuka fumes at the sight, annoyed that while they're having a serious discussion, Shayu keeps sneaking in these little chances to show off. Just then, Toifa suddenly hears something. A pair of glowing eyes appear in a cave up ahead, charging straight toward them. Itsuka immediately casts a barrier, shielding the entire party. A dragon smashes into it but is brought to a stop. But something is off. The dragon isn't attacking. Instead, it's whining at them, clearly frightened. The dragons aren't charging at them, they're running away from something. Suddenly, the source appears. It's another one of the otherworldly heroes, inside a car, recklessly chasing the terrified dragons down the mountain path. He shouts after them, telling the dragons to mate with his car.
I want to see dragon car sex. Go home. But there aren't any dragons in Japan. Until I see bona fide dragon car sex, I absolutely refuse to go home.
You're making that poor dragon uncomfortable.
Xiaoyu then asks if he's the one manipulating the dragons, but he immediately rejects such an outrageous accusation. He claims he simply wants a male dragon to get sexually aroused by an automobile and masturbate with it. Xiaoyu, still smiling, tells him that's still manipulation, but he stubbornly defends himself, saying it's natural instinct, so how could it be manipulation? The party collectively gives up arguing with this perverted man, and they just stare at him in disgust. Back in Japan, not a single adult video catering to this fetish exists, which is why he's desperate to see it here, in this world where dragons actually exist. Xiaoyu and Itsuka whisper to each other as they observe the situation. The hero isn't rampaging, he just wants to hang around until his twisted wish is fulfilled. Ryo then asks if the automobile he keeps mentioning is the one he was riding earlier. It looked oddly jiggly and cartoonish compared to a normal car. He has the ability to materialize things he draws, and although the car he's made now looks silly, it can still move, though there are some limits. The whole party is amazed by his ability, but it's a shame he only uses it for things like this. A dragon then started to get close to Itsuka and explains what happened. The perverted hero just repeatedly set the car somewhere and peeked from the shadow, that's why they got scared.
Please wait for a second.
You can talk to dragons?
Why do you think we wouldn't be able to?
In my world, it's normal to only be able to talk to humans. I didn't consider trying to reach a mutual understanding. Mr. Dragon, please go ahead and use my car to masturbate.
There is no way I'll ever hear anyone ask for a favor.
The dragon replies, but the hero can't understand a single word. Maybe because of the difference in bodily structures between him and beings from this world. Then he has an idea. Why not use his ability to create something like a translation device? Itsuka agrees, as long as it won't hurt the dragons. The hero immediately starts scribbling in his notebook. It lights up, and a pair of AirPods and a phone appear in his hands. He opens a translation app, and the dragon asks if he can hear him. Finally, the hero can understand what they're saying. Apparently, the dragons are happy enough with the car. They start poking and touching it, asking if he can change its shape. These young dragons usually end up using the cave walls when they can't hold back anymore, something that always gets them caught by their mothers. The hero is confused, but Itsuka clarifies it for him. These dragons are going through puberty. One dragon, poking at the squishy car, turns to Xiaoyu and asks if it's different for humans. Xiaoyu then wraps her arms around Itsuka from behind, startling him. He squirms and tells her not to hug him so tightly like that. Off to the side, Rufu watches the scene unfold from a distance, making no effort to hide how much she's enjoying it. But then, something approaches, startling the young dragons and making them shrink back in fear. It's their mothers. The dragon mothers scold them harshly, demanding to know why they haven't gone out hunting and why they're only thinking with their lower halves. They add that they can't even clean up properly by themselves, which makes the young dragons blush in embarrassment. The tension between the young dragons and their mothers quickly starts to rise, until it escalates into an outright clash. Two groups of dragons begin to fight each other, roaring and breathing fire into the sky while the hero's party watches from the ground. Meanwhile, in a nearby village, the villagers see the flames and hear the roars echoing through the mountains. Fear spreads among them, terrified that it's happening all over again. The dragons clash in the air, and with every strike, the sky trembles. The otherworldly hero starts to panic, realizing all of this chaos is happening because of his ridiculous fetish. One dragon breathes fire, missing its target, only to completely decimate a nearby mountain instead. Seeing this, Itsuka turns to Toifa and says it's time for them to fight, but Toifa flatly refuses, saying it would be suicide. Off in the distance, Xiaoyu stretches casually and asks if it's okay for her to go ahead. Itsuka tells her it's fine, dragons are tough anyway, just make sure to hold back. Shayu jumps so high she matches the dragon's mid-flight. She grabs one by the horn, swings it around and hurls it to the ground, creating a shockwave that rattles the entire mountain. The young dragons watch in disbelief. Shayu calmly calls up to them, telling them to come down so they can talk things out properly. Obediently, the dragons fly back down, like scolded puppies. One of the mother dragons steps forward and explains that female dragons only go into heat rarely, so she just can't stand seeing the males wasting that chance on a toy when they should be leaving behind offspring instead. Toifa explains it further for the others. It means dragons can only have children every few decades. The hero looks even more miserable, realizing his fetish might have pushed dragons closer to extinction. Rufu, thinking deeply, points out that maybe the female dragons just don't want to pair up with the males because they're bad at sex. At that, the mother dragons awkwardly avert their eyes, proving Rufu's guess was spot on. She convinces them that by using these car-shaped toys, the male dragons can gain experience and improve for the future. She then orders the hero to make more cars to suit the dragon's preferences. One dragon in particular says he likes it big and firm, because it feels like being hugged back. Shayu, with innocent curiosity, turns to Itsuka and asks if that's why he doesn't need a toy like that. Because she's here, big and firm. Toifa looks at him in disgust. Meanwhile, the hero bursts into tears of joy while watching the dragons enjoy his creation. It seems this absurd mission is finally wrapping up. Shayu then asks if they should take the hero home, but Itsuka disagrees, saying they should just leave him here if he's not going to cause another rampage. The party makes their way back to the village, only to find the villagers in the middle of evacuating. Apparently, they thought the hero's party had perished, so they were already trying to leave and call for a replacement hero. Just as they mention the replacement hero, she appears, dressed in a nun's garment, looking for the village head to ask about the dragon subjugation quest. But the moment she spots Shayu, she rushes over and hugs her side, calling her prince. She eagerly inspects Shayu's refined features, immediately trying to recruit her into her own harem. But then her eyes land on Itsuka, and her excitement drains away, rejecting him outright, even though he never confessed anything in the first place. Snapping back to reality, the nun hero asks about the dragon subjugation quest. The villagers explain it's already been resolved by the hero's party and their companions, news that makes her swoon even harder over them. It turns out this nun hero is also an otherworlder. When she first arrived in this world, she didn't know a thing. Her only knowledge came from stories about saintesses and villainesses. Naturally, she tried to get involved with the church, but she knew nothing about the religion itself. And to her dismay, there were no handsome men there either. When given the chance to return to Japan, she outright refused, declaring she won't go home until she experiences life in an isekai surrounded by handsome men. Itsuka starts to question why every otherworlder they meet ends up like this. Trying to help, Itsuka offers Ryo to her, but she immediately declines. She admits Ryo is beautiful, but says she just doesn't prefer women. That's when it's revealed that Ryo is actually a man. The nun hero is left completely baffled. Ryo even offers to show his junk, but Itsuka hurriedly stops him.
If the bottom half is what you care about, then I have it too.
Huh?
I'm not lying, right, Toifa?
Toifa turns as red as a tomato. Itsuka looks at her worriedly and asks if Rufu did anything to her and if she wants to go to the police. Toifa, stuttering, insists it was nothing.
Are you also a man? I'm a woman!
I'm also a woman.
This sudden overload of information practically short-circuits the nun hero's brain. The gender reveals are now all out in the open. Ryo is a man, Shayu is a woman, Itsuka is a man, Toifa is a woman, and Rufu is intersex.
Even though you have such a handsome face and voice? A woman?
I know it's hard to tell by looking, but don't touch her too much. That's rude, you know?
This unexpectedly protective side of Itsuka makes Shayu blush. The nun hero, meanwhile, collapses dramatically onto the ground, overwhelmed by despair. Concerned, Itsuka asks what's wrong. She wails that she's just jealous. She wants her own romance with a handsome isekai man too. Itsuka is amazed by how shamelessly she declares her burning desire. Rolling around on the floor, she whines about wanting to be pampered, but all she sees is them flirting in front of her. Rufui glances at Itsuka and teases that this scene looks oddly familiar, making him avert his eyes awkwardly. The nun hero starts begging them to introduce her to a handsome man. Rio pulls out a letter and suggests they attend the peace memorial party they've been invited to. The moment the nun hero hears the word party, her imagination runs wild with daydreams of ballroom dances, flowing gowns, castles, and a prince. She's practically vibrating with excitement. Itsuka, on the other hand, is skeptical. He mutters that since it's a formal party, they'll all be required to wear proper attire, which makes him uncomfortable. Shayu slides in beside him, softly telling him she wants to see him dressed up, but he still won't budge until he hears the nun hero squeal that dressing up means a chance to get popular. Itsuka instantly perks up, excited alongside the nun hero about the possibility. Shayu's shoulders slump, disappointed that becoming popular motivates him more than she does. Toifa tries to cheer her up, gently telling Shayu that she's looking forward to seeing her in formal attire too. Before the party, Rufu busies herself getting Toifa ready, gently reminiscing while she adjusts her clothes. It's been a long time since they've attended a party like this, and it's rare for her to get to dress Toifa up so elegantly. When she's finally done, the normally rough-looking Toifa looks stunning, transformed completely by Rufui's careful touch. Off to the side, the nun hero watches with wide eyes and asks when it'll be her turn. Rufu laughs softly and tells her that her nun outfit is already formal attire provided by the church. This makes the nun hero tear up and whine. She wants to dress up too. Rufu comforts her gently, telling her she's already plenty cute as she is. Toifa, meanwhile, grumbles that she wants to remove some of the dangling ornaments Rufu added, but Rufu instantly scolds her to leave them alone. Then Rufu plucks a flower and tucks it carefully behind the nun hero's ear, telling her that now she looks even lovelier. The nun hero looks at Rufu in a new, softer light, which is instantly shattered when Toifa mutters that Rufu isn't nearly as pure as she looks. An attendant arrives to let them know it's almost time. Rufu tells the nun hero they'll see her later and wishes her luck finding handsome men. At the ball, the nun hero quickly finds herself surrounded by men, asking about her powers, abilities, and her muscles. She's disappointed. Not a single slender prince in sight, just muscular meatheads. Slipping away, she retreats to the banquet table and stuffs herself in silence, until the hero's party finally makes their entrance. She stops mid-bite, watching them descend the grand staircase with awe. She rushes over to Shayu the moment they're close enough, showering her with compliments for looking so cool in a knight's formal attire. Hopeful, she tries to ask if it means Shayu is actually a man for wearing something like that. But Itsuka cuts in to clarify that it's just formal wear for knights. It has nothing to do with gender. Next, she spots Rio looking dazzling in his elegant clothes. Annoyed, she charges at him, whining that it's unfair that he gets to change when he's supposed to be a priest. Rio calmly explains that what he usually wears is basically cosplay anyway. These are actually his normal clothes. Itsuka, too, is shining tonight in his formal attire. The music starts. Rufu leans down to the nun hero and asks if she'd like to dance, since she always dreams of ballrooms. Silence falls until the nun hero sheepishly admits she doesn't actually know how to dance. Shayu steps in to reassure her, telling her not to worry. Passion is all she needs. Then, without warning, she grabs Itsuka's hand and pulls him to the dance floor. Itsuka protests, reminding her they both don't know how to dance, but Shayu only laughs it off. Everyone watching is already drunk anyway.
Isn't it fine as long as we move along with the music?
How careless.
I want to dance with you the most. Is that all right?
Watching this warm scene unfold, the nun hero quietly excuses herself, telling everyone she needs some fresh air because she's feeling tipsy, though Rufu notes she hasn't seen her drink a single drop. She watches the nun hero step out onto the balcony, eyes narrowing with a hint of caution. Out on the balcony, the nun hero leans on the railing and mutters her jealousy toward the hero's party. She thought being summoned as a hero to another world would mean she'd be loved unconditionally. Hidden nearby, Rufu listens quietly, taking in every word. Back inside the ballroom, Itsuka is bent over, catching his breath. He's exhausted. Shayu hasn't stopped spinning him around the entire dance. She only laughs and glances at the other guests wearing elegant dresses. She tilts her head and asks if he'd prefer her in a dress too. Itsuka, still panting, shakes his head and tells her that what she's wearing now suits her perfectly. The comment makes Shayu genuinely happy. She then teases him, saying that his outfit doesn't really suit him. Itsuka sighs and fires back, pointing out that she's the one who wanted him to dress up in the first place.
But yes, I think so too. It's making my shoulders stiff. Besides, it doesn't matter what I wear. You'll attract more attention anyway.
What Itsuka doesn't notice is that, nearby, a group of girls are whispering about how good he looks tonight, liking his new appearance. Shayu, however, hears every word.
Yeah, the usual you is better after all.
Suddenly, the host calls for everyone's attention and announces the start of the evening's main event, the first ever Precious Magic Tool contest. Now that the world is peaceful, the president has scattered a collection of rare magic tools all around the venue, and anything guests find within the time limit is theirs to keep.
Itsuka, if I found something good, you'll buy it, right?
Hold on a second. Our side has Shayu. We'll be taking everything.
Itsuka immediately buffs his eyesight and all his stats to the max, only to get dogpiled by a bunch of men trying to stop him, hugging him and yelling at him to cancel his buffs. Watching this chaotic scene, Shayu can't help but smile unconsciously. Seeing how excited Itsuka is, she decides she'll help him out. Meanwhile, Ryo doesn't feel like running around tonight. He stays seated, completely uninterested. Then Ryo glances around, wondering where Rufu disappeared to, since detection is her specialty. Out on the balcony, Rufu quietly approaches the nun hero and offers her a glass of water. She accepts it immediately, drinking it down in one go. Rufu gently asks her if she feels lonely, catching the nun hero completely off guard. She's about to answer when Itsuka and Shayu's voices call up from below the balcony, asking if she wants to join the treasure hunt. She declines. The two on the balcony watch them disappear from view. The nun hero tells Rufu that she can go join the hunt. She'll be fine on her own. But Rufu stays put. Rufu looks up, spotting a balloon high overhead. She pulls out her hairpin and hair extensions, transforming them into a bow and arrow. With a swift motion, she shoots the balloon and a small box drops into her hands. Inside the box is a delicate ring. Rufu slips it onto the nun hero's pinky finger.
It's like a charm. It'd be great if you found someone who will soothe your loneliness.
I think I might like you.
The nun hero's eyes turn pitch black, as if possessed by something. Her desires, amplified, make her grip Rufui's hand tightly, so tightly that Rufui grows visibly nervous. Behind them, the fireworks suddenly flare up in the sky, growing erratic and wild. Rufui tries to calm her down, but it's too late. A huge, heart-shaped flame appears out of thin air, catching the attention of every guest at the party, including Itsuka and Shayu. As panic spreads, guests start to evacuate the ballroom. Shayu readies herself to rush to the balcony, but Itsuka stops her, assuring her that Rufu and Toifa are already there. Just then, Toifa appears behind the nun hero, striking the back of her neck in an instant. The girl collapses, unconscious. Rufu looks worriedly at the hero and asks Toifa if she kills her. Toifa shakes her head and told her she is just knocked out. The two of them glance at the sky as the wild flames slowly fade away. Despite the tension, they can't help but admire how the hero managed to summon such powerful magic. The next day, Toifa reported to Itsuka that she hadn't found any magic circle, but she did notice a faint glow on the hero's neck. Beyond that, there were no other clues to explain what had happened. Itsuka, meanwhile, sat on the floor hugging all the treasures they had gathered, completely unbothered. Despite the lack of answers, he seemed confident that they would figure out the cause eventually, one way or another. Rufu flips through the event pamphlet, her eyes widening when she notices something. She realizes the ring she gave the nun hero is actually the most precious magic tool of them all. A ring said to make you live happily ever after with your loved one. Shayu has been looking for that ring all night. She was planning to give it to Itsuka. So she instead takes his hand gently and kisses it like a prince, claiming their princess. Shayu looks up at him, waiting for his reaction.
That effect seems dubious.
I thought you'd say something like that.
The party spends the rest of the evening checking the effects of every magical tool they collected. Later that night, back at the inn, Itsuka hurries to his room and shuts the door behind him. He leans against it, his face red as a tomato as he stares at the hand Shayu kissed. Flustered, he covers his face and tries to calm himself down. When that doesn't work, he mutters a small, unknown spell under his breath, instantly steadying his heartbeat. He takes a deep breath, moves to the table, and starts examining the magical tools again until sleep finally takes him. But in the middle of the night, Itsuka jolts awake. Someone is calling his name. He blinks his eyes open, only to find Shayu sitting on top of him, dressed in her sleeping wear. Shayu's face moved closer to his, so close that he could feel her breath. Itsuka tried to push her away, telling her not to come near him without her armor on. But she told him she didn't need it, just like her clothes. She pulled off her top without hesitation. Before he could react, he suddenly felt something soft press against his face. Another Shayu had appeared out of nowhere, shielding him from the first one who was half undressed. Itsuka was completely confused, staring at the two Shayus now fighting each other in front of him.
It's difficult, isn't it? Do you prefer sexy or cute? I want her both voluptuous and slender. Yes, I totally understand. Gender, race, none of the matters. All of your wishes.
It was all just a dream. Itsuka jolted awake, realizing the fly-like creature hovering in front of him had used a special chanting technique while he slept. Furious, he immediately cast offensive spells to drive it off. Later that morning, Itsuka found himself at a bar, drinking far too early and ranting to the bartender about what had happened. The creature, who introduced himself as Bell's Buzz, the famous flyman from the red light district, fluttered beside him. Itsuka, still annoyed, made it clear he had no interest in any of his services.
Truth to be told, I've come to beseech your help.
I beseech you not attack me in my sleep.
In your sleep?
Shayu, who had just woken up and come downstairs still in her sleepwear, asked who the fly was that Itsuka was arguing with. Itsuka looked away, flustered by the memory of his dream. Shayu stepped closer to Bell's Buzz, ready to crush him if he didn't explain why he had attacked Itsuka in his sleep. Bell's Buzz, trying to calm things down, explained that he actually owned a brothel and had come to beg for the hero party's help with a quest. He guided them to his establishment, only for someone to suddenly throw a shoe at him. A group of men stood there, looking traumatized as they yelled complaints about the missing, cute succubus girls. Shayu stepped forward to stop them, telling them not to bully Bell's Buzz, but the men just ran away crying, insisting that they were the ones who had been bullied. The party stood in confusion, until someone inside called out to Bell's Buzz, asking if he'd brought new customers. Two gigantic, muscular succubi stepped out to greet them. The two succubi flexed their massive muscles in front of the party, leaving Toifa in awe, Rio daydreaming about trying on their cute clothes, and Rufu quietly worrying if all of them could even fit on the bed together. Itsuka scolded the trio, telling them to behave, while Shayu admired the succubi and asked if they ever felt cramped inside the shop. Bell's Buzz explained that these two girls were originally normal, human-sized succubi, until one day they suddenly got into bodybuilding. Being a race so weak to their own desires, once they fixate on something, they can't stop. It had gotten to the point where they now forced customers to work out with them, and over time, they'd grown taller and taller. Toifa, thrilled, asked the two how they got such massive muscles. The succubi explained that once, a customer they both attended pulled out something they couldn't resist drinking. After that, they discovered how amazing bodybuilding felt. Bell's Buzz added that this didn't happen only in his place. That same suspicious customer had been visiting various establishments, forcing people to drink his strange liquid. Now, plenty of girls had ended up with bodies like Sam Sulek. Normally, no demon would drink something handed over by a customer. They're too resilient against hypnosis for that. Itsuka put the pieces together.
We might be against someone with extremely powerful abilities.
But why get these girls into bodybuilding?
Right, maybe they're live testing the effectiveness of some abilities or drugs. Or maybe they're into huge girls with muscle.
He glanced at Shayu with concern. Ryo noticed and teased him for being overprotective. Itsuka ignored him and dragged Ryo outside to check other establishments for clues. At the next place, the scene repeated. More muscular succubi tried to pamper Itsuka and asked him to play with them, but he firmly refused. It became clear that there were many victims, and now Itsuka understood how serious the situation was. Back at the first brothel, Toifa was handed a juice by one of the other succubi. The rest of the party tried to stop her, but it was too late. She already drank it. Within moments, not only did Toifa collapse to the floor, but several of the other succubi who'd drunk it too fell over beside her. Rufu rushed over, dropping to her knees to check Toifa's condition. But before she could react, Toifa's body began to glow brightly. A deep, eerie hum filled the room as her outline pulsed with light. And then impossibly, she began to grow, her expanding form tearing straight through the ceiling above. Amid the chaos, someone's voice rang out, screaming with glee, calling Toifa the ultimate, perfect giantess. The moment the situation turned, the party wasted no time tying up the strange man, who immediately burst into tears, babbling excuses about how he just wanted to see giantess and muscle girls combined. Shayu scolded him sharply, reminding him that it's not good to inconvenience others for the sake of his whims. While they held him down, Ryo returned with a quick report. The other succubi had passed out, not because of any spell, but because the drinks were so bad they overwhelmed their bodies. The man finally confessed he'd been experimenting with a new protein powder flavor, cucumber. Itsuka, increasingly frustrated, demanded to know why he would go to such lengths to transform people when there were already larger-bodied races in this world. The man just shrugged helplessly. He liked seeing cute, normal girls suddenly become huge, but without losing their toned muscles. The idea of a normal girl turning into a giantess overnight thrilled him, especially when he'd seen Toifa. To him, she was the perfect canvas for fantasy, a body bigger than a house, perfectly sculpted arms and all. Itsuka could feel the headache coming on and didn't bother to mince words. He asked if the man was from Japan. Instead of giving a straight answer, the man simply denied any connection to the perverts from Japan, insisting loudly that he didn't feel any sexual desire toward giantess girls. Rufu cut in with the obvious question. If this wasn't about perversion, then why target brothels? Cornered, the man explained that brothels were simple. Pay them, and they'd at least listen. If he walked up to any normal girl on the street and tried to hand over his protein juice, he'd be arrested in an instant. Worse, the effects of his concoction varied wildly, so he started testing it on as many different girls as he could find.
You were experimenting on them?
Huh? The monster is talking?
His disbelief didn't last long. A sinister sting at the back of his neck made him flinch. Then his eyes went wide, body jerking like a puppet on strings as a dark aura pulsed around him. The same sinister force that had possessed the other rampaging heroes seeped through him now, twisting his already unstable desires. With a sharp motion, he triggered the same cursed effect he'd used on the succubi, forcing the transformed girls to wake and clash with each other in a brutal, rampaging brawl. Toifa, caught in the same control, turned her glazed eyes on her friends, her massive frame now a threat to everything around her. Bells Buzz, horrified, flitted closer, begging the Otherworlder to stop. The succubi weren't made for fighting, and they hadn't eaten properly for so long. But the Otherworlder just dismissed him coldly. He insisted they would be fine, claiming he had brainwashed them to eat protein-rich food, so there was nothing to worry about.
That'd be fine for humans. However, the girls are succubi. They eat by sucking life force. Human food cannot make up for that. At this rate, they're going to starve to death, all because of you, a hero.
And? So what?
The city lay under the shadow of 3 rampaging giants, their massive limbs tearing through rooftops and shattering stone roads with every careless clash. Amid the chaos, Itsuka dashed from ruin to ruin, weaving desperate barriers to hold back crumbling debris, while Rufu darted through the streets, her sharp voice guiding frightened civilians to safety. The Otherworlder just watches the three giants fight each other, ecstatic at the sight, so much so that he doesn't notice he's about to get stomped on. But Shayu uses her shield and saves the Otherworlder. She then drags him to a safe spot and proceeds to slap him. The Otherworlder comes to his senses. The three giants do too. Shayu, furious, demanded to know how the Otherworlder could hurt other people when he was supposed to be a hero. The Otherworlder then starts to avoid fault, claiming that it's all just a dream, because if the city were really being destroyed, the party and the troops would have attacked him. The whole party just looks at him. Itsuka then casts telekinesis on small pebbles and flings them so fast to graze his ear. He explains that they could kill him easily. They just wanted to try settling it with words first. The Otherworlder finally wakes up, realizing it's real because of the stinging pain in his ear.
What's with your attitude? If this is not a dream, then I am the chosen hero. Kneel before me, you NPC mage!
This makes Itsuka turn cold. He casts a spell on both of the Otherworlder's hands, making him strangle himself until tears and drool come out of him. They might call themselves heroes, but the only hero he bows to is Shayu. Itsuka is about to kill him until Shayu intervenes, smiling at him. Itsuka, still pissed off, lets him go, but the Otherworlder instantly runs away in fear. Rufu tells everyone they can't let him escape because Toifa and the others haven't returned to normal yet. Ryo scolds Itsuka, telling him he shouldn't have scared him so badly. The Otherworlder, desperate, tries to seek help from the bartender, who happens to be holding a large scythe, smiling coldly as he looks for the culprit who obliterated his shop. Itsuka and Ryo quickly point at the Otherworlder, making him scream in terror. The Otherworlder, now tied up again, is interrogated by the whole party. He explains that when his neck started burning, all he could think about was giving in to his urges. Itsuka concludes it must be a desire amplification spell, a trick favored by high-ranking demons. Belzebuz thanks the hero party for their help, and, with a snap of his fingers, the ruined parts of the city begin to restore themselves, as if nothing ever happened. With another snap, Toifa and the others return to normal too. Belzebuz then reveals his true form.
Allow me to express my gratitude on their behalf. My apologies for having stayed in my energy-saving form. Once again, esteemed humans, I'm Belzebuz. The so-called humans' magic is indeed inconvenient. I'll entrust you with the care of the wounded humans. It's difficult task for likes of us.
Hey, did you say something? Your voice is so faint I can't hear you.
Belzebuz apologizes and shifts his fly head into a more human-like appearance to make himself clearer. He then proceeds to drop a bombshell. The Demon Lord has awakened, and he requests their presence.